Scott McNair, injury attorneys, we fight for the win.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Overrule Podcast, brought to you by the Scott McNair Law Firm. This is your co-host, David McNair, along with my law partner and co-host. I say co-host twice. What is that all about? Brad Scott. Good morning, Brad. How you doing?
Good morning. Doing well. How about yourself?
Doing well. We are in the studio. We are ready to chat about the topic that has taken the world by storm, the leader of the free world. I'm going to disclaim this before we even go into it. We are not taking political sides here. We do not like to talk about politics on this podcast completely unless it's like...
Sometimes we can't help ourselves.
Yeah, we just can't help ourselves. The leader of the free world and the richest person in the world decided to act like 12-year-olds and throw spaghetti at each other online, social media. And, of course, we're talking about President Donald Trump and Elon Musk public feud. It has been fascinating to watch the relationship, which was a marriage of harmony and bliss, quickly disintegrate. What are we, 120 days into the presidency? Later, publicly. But what I'd really like to get into, Brad, is like your general thoughts of this. Like, what the hell's going on? Like, what is going on? It's very, I guess, as a person who grew up in a generation of President Clinton and the Bushes, the Clintons and the Bushes, and this like level of like decorum and whatever it is. And I know things are changed and things are different, but like to see the president and the richest man in the world like publicly attacking each other like this has been just a little unsettling, I guess is what I'll say.
The biggest problem I have with it is the platform or the arena in which they are choosing to do this in. I mean, literally out on social media, they're going to hash this thing out and like take jabs at each other. What are we, 12-year-old schoolgirls? It's just insane that this is happening online. And, you know, whether you love him or hate him, Donald likes his social media. I thought they would have taken his phone away for this term, but apparently they have not.
I don't think he's allowing them to take his phone away. I think they've tried.
I can just see him like locked up in the bathroom with his phone, doing his business, and like the Secret Service beating on the door. Mr. Trump, please stop.
Put the phone down. I'm happy to predict there's been many a communications director for the Trump family who's tried to take that phone away and has been unsuccessful. That's a guess of mine, but I don't think it's a pure shot in the dark, if you might.
But look, if you like reality TV and that kind of media, this is feeding right into that, and people like this kind of stuff these days. It's the biggest story that's going on for the most part right now, and people are watching this whole debacle unwind. The question is, why is it happening? What's in it for who? Is there more to the story? Because, Uncle Donald really likes to play the game of negotiation. Is there more to it than we think? Is this more of a strategy? Is Donald willing to take a couple punches to get Elon's stock price back up? Because he took an awful hit while he was up in there doing the Doge thing. I think their share price hit a high of like $500 a share and was down below $300 a share or something like that. So, I mean, I'm sure Elon's shareholders are screaming at him for his little stint in the government and what it's done to the companies. A nice little fight or a little war with Donald Trump all of a sudden gets the Democrats back on his side. They start buying Teslas again. And sure enough, his stock price is going back up. So is this a charade? What's going on? I think it's more to it than we think.
I never understood the Trumps going into politics because I've never forgotten the old adage that Michael Jordan said, which is Republicans buy shoes too. When he would come under pressure from different people in the Democratic Party for not taking more public stances on politics. And he's like, look, I think the point he was trying to drive home is like, I'm a businessman.
Not good for business.
And a lot of things, I have clients who are Democrats, I have clients who are Republicans, I have clients who are independents, Green Party. They all wear Nike. And I want them to buy Air Jordans. And so Trump, whether it's Trump's, Elon, any of these business people who end up going into politics, it always just befuddles me because I don't necessarily know or believe, I don't think it does, I don't think it's necessarily good for their business. Like, right, Elon, if you think of his portfolio, he was, like you said, an electric car innovator. That's a space which is probably going to be more supported by Democrats because they have a more conscientious instinct about environmental protection, and they see electric cars, even though we don't want to go down like the battery mining rabbit hole of whether that's really good for the environment or not. But like they see Tesla and electric cars is better for the environment than fossil fuels.
I mean, it's been a big part.
Correct. And so he's kind of like jumping in the administration, like imperiling a big customer base, which would leave a lot of his shareholders and board of directors, I'm sure, very concerned with this entire Doge thing he's been all involved in. But I can't help but think the simplest, I'm a believer in Occam's razor, where it's just like the most obvious thing is probably always the answer. However, with all of this, it's so out of the ordinary that I just have to believe that there's more to the picture about what's actually driving each of the side behind the scenes. And I know you're a conspiracy theorist, so I want to start with your conspiracy theories. Like, what is really motivating first the Donald and publicly spatting with Elon about this?
Well, I think going back, Elon's intentions, whether you like him or you hate him, his intentions were good. Who can't get behind going in and cleaning up the government and preventing wasteful spending? You would think everybody would be on board with that.
Sure.
Newsflash. Half the country don't like it, because that's not where we're at. It's not what's logical anymore. It's just the country is so divided politically. It's just you have to pick a team. And regardless if his intentions were good going into do Doge or not, I think they were. It's a serious political landmine that he stepped on. And if you look at, just from a business standpoint, what happened with people torching the Tesla dealerships and the cars and the extreme backlash.
We saw it here in New Orleans. I mean, in one of the parades, I think it was Orpheus that I actually rode in this year, where people like threw rocks and broke a windshield on one of those god awful, ugly Cybertrucks. Sorry to any of you who have Cybertrucks, but they're hideous.
But I think that was an unforeseen thing in Elon's math when he decided to do Doge, that, hey, I'm going to go do good. Everybody's going to like me. I'm going to be a hero. I'm going to save everybody a bunch of money. And this backlash was unanticipated. And the decrease in the stock price was unanticipated. And his company got in a tank over this.
How much did his stock price drop?
From its high point, I think it lost 50%. I'll go back and look at the chart.
Or SpaceX or both?
Tesla stock.
Gotcha.
So, I mean, I think it was almost the high, if I recall, was close to 500, and it got well below $300 a share. So that's half your hair cut off in stockholder value.
And how much, if you know, Brad, how much of Tesla makes up Elon's net worth? Is that that's the bulk of his net worth, right?
Yeah. So he took a hammer to his net worth as well. So I think what happens, he stepped in to help with good intentions, didn't see this coming, and he did his little duty for 6 months or whatever it was there, and he's out. And now he's trying to, hey, Donald, I did you a favor. Now look what's happened to me personally. How do we fix this? I could see this playing out with saying, well, hey, look, just pretend like you hate me again, and they'll all love you again. And hey, let's bump your stock price back up. I could see that conversation happen with Donald Trump, in between Elon Musk and Donald Trump.
Because it's just a business deal to Trump. It's just like any deal he's cut before. Elon came in to help him with this, or be a part of attempting to cut government spending, and so he's got to pay him back, and so he's just going to be willing to take a hit publicly to cut a deal to help him.
Elon got up. I mean, Donald's always fine taking some couple punches to gain an advantage somewhere else. And the other aspect of this, now all of a sudden the Democrats are loving Elon. He's almost becoming the champion for the Democrats. They have them begging for the bill to be passed now. So it's is this all reverse psychology by Trump, which this guy likes to do deals. He's always one step ahead of the other side. So I think there's a lot more to it than you think. It's just not this random spat between the two of them. I think this is more calculated than we think.
Yeah, I've been I don't know. I don't want to go too down the rabbit hole of that. I'm but in this particular, in different instances in the past, where I'll see something and be like, what is going on with this? But in this one, I'm it just seems so out of left field that there's got to be more to the story. And I think the stock price thing, it's one of those adages in life, right? Follow the money.
Absolutely.
And so if you look, we talked about this before the show, and you really got me thinking, and that's an angle I could see being completely plausible, is when that much of Elon's stock valuation is almost cut in half. We're not talking about $1 million. We're not talking about $10 million. We're talking about hundreds of billions, with a freaking B, and hundreds of it in reduction in value when Tesla's down 40 or 50%, because it's is it the highest valued company on the S&P?
I believe it's up there. If it's not the highest one, I don't know where they rank with Alphabet, the Google parent company, but they're up there. They're a big company, so
I think they might be over $1 trillion valuation. What I'm curious, but it's insane. So when you say that, I would think it's important for people listening to understand the gravity of a 40% reduction in $800 or $900 billion valuation.
Yes, it's a lot of wealth that disappears. So, and look, these are both very successful people. However you measure success, these guys have done really well, and they're very smart people. You know, regardless of what you think about their politics, they're smart people. They don't do random things. They don't do things that are going to hurt them personally or politically or financially. These things are calculated. You follow the money. I mean, this is not stock advice whatsoever, but, you know, I saw this coming and I started buying Tesla stock, you know, a week before last when this stuff started popping up, and it's done extremely well in the last week or two. So there's something to this. The stock is definitely moving in the right direction based on this.
Interesting. So let me ask you this, because that's a plausible, like, you could have got me. There's a lot of conspiracy theories you've pitched me over the years that our listeners wouldn't know about that I have not agreed, and I wouldn't go down with you. But this one, I think, on the stock issue for Elon, I see as being completely plausible and why this makes sense. But where do you see this going now?
I don't know. I mean, Trump has a history of doing this kind of stuff, and, you know, he really never takes any damage because of it, it seems. I mean, the people who hate him. They're never going to change their mind. The people that love him, you're not going to change their mind either over stuff like this. And out of every political figure we've ever had in the world, Trump has had more airtime on both, you know, network TV and social media, wherever you want to calculate airtime at. He owns the airtime. And the old adage is, as long as they're talking about you, it doesn't matter if it's good or bad. Just make sure they're talking about you. He has that down to a science. So he will maintain
nobody knows what the hell he's going to say next.
And he dominates the headlines. If they're talking about this with Elon, they're not talking about the other stuff. So, you know, what else is going on? What else is he trying to get done that's off the radar because they're paying attention to this stuff? And the media loves this shit show, and they're all over it.
Yeah, and it's also with him, I've noticed, is like he never writes somebody off. Like the minute Elon comes back and starts like saying nice things about him again, he'll be like, well, you know, Elon didn't like me for a little bit, but now he's back and we're very good friends. And so it's hard to even know like how to predict like where this is gonna head next, because like with like you'd be like, okay, well, they're like their professional relationship between, which makes it the biggest piece about this, which I'm like, we had to talk about this, is like the president of the United States and the richest person in the world. And so it's like two of the most influential and powerful people in the world. And so it's just bizarre.
These are not the Kardashians that we're talking about. These are two people with a lot of power and wealth who are duking it out supposedly on social media.
I wonder if we're living in idiocracy now.
And if this really is at face value what's going on, and this is what the world has come to,
then we are living in idiocracy. You know that whole movie? It's like predicting that this was like. So I guess my optimistic side is exactly what you just said, Bradley. Is I want to believe that we are not living in idiocracy, and this is not just what it is on face value.
I can't accept that right now. I can't. I'm sorry.
At least for your kids and our future's sake.
This is not the country I'm living in. If that's what actually is going on.
My prediction is that they're going to make up. I just think they're going to make up, and it's going to be like the grand reconciliation, and they'll probably fight again. But I don't see Elon. I think Elon was loving being involved in this and giving like some level of civic virtue off and giving back to the country and all the things. So I think they're going to make up. I could be wrong, but I don't. I think there's like going to be multiple acts in their relationship publicly over the next 3.5 years.
And I think this will reveal itself in the next couple of weeks to a month or two. I guarantee you they're posturing somebody and setting somebody up to get him into some kind of deal. Look what he did with the tariffs. You know, nothing is ever face value with Trump on what he's doing. And he pulls people in, and people are just one step. That's all they ever think. They don't think multiple steps. They're playing checkers. He's playing chess. I think he's got him again.
Maybe. That's an interesting take. We'll see. Where do you think Joe Rogan's going to fall?
I'd be interested to see. He may be in on it.
Well, let's not end the show without getting Miles' prediction. Miles here. Miles, what do you think is going to happen with this?
Well, real quick, I looked it up. So NVIDIA is now the highest.
That's right.
They just skyrocketed. It's them.
What is their market cap, NVIDIA?
$3.5 trillion.
Wow.
And then Microsoft is $3.5 trillion. And so NVIDIA is $3.51 trillion. Microsoft is $3.5 trillion, and Apple is $3.027 trillion.
All right. And what about Tesla?
It looks like they're not even in the top 3.
Oh, well, you didn't really look it up, Miles.
Yeah, well, I looked up the S&P market cap.
Down the list than I thought. I mean, geez.
Yeah, I mean, I should have. I knew Nvidia had really.
Tesla is 1.04 trillion as of right now.
Okay, so
A little bit behind, but I mean, still.
super helpful. So if we're talking about like a 40% market cap clip, that's $400 billion.
Yeah, that's it.
It's big numbers no matter how you carve it up. So you'd seem like there would have to be some effort to repair that damage after he went and do what he did for us with Doge.
Yeah, I hate to admit it. The more I'm listening to Brad, I can see it.
You can see it plausibly. And you thought it was like face value.
I did. I'm thinking one step. I'm not thinking.
I rest my case.
If Miles.
You've convinced Miles. Miles, we can't leave without you giving a prediction. What do you think's going to happen?
All I see is the memes of just people saying like, "My billionaire dads are fighting." That's just what I keep thinking about. That's your Gen Z take for the afternoon.
The more important question is if they are getting a divorce, who's getting big balls in the divorce?
I'm not going to answer that, disclaimer. But it's, some days you wake up and you're like, because you see them interacting and you forget that it's the president of the United States. Mm-hmm. And that's where it just gets really wild. You have to laugh at it, I guess. Kind of like what Brad said. There has to be, like with the tariffs thing, it's kind of gone away now a little because now the economy's back up. S&P is all the way back up. I mean, it's in the positive now. At first, I was kind of laughing. I'm like, what is Trump doing now? I mean, I don't know. Because I don't know everything he knows. And like you said, whether you love him or not, they're both smart individuals. Yeah, I could totally see them now.
If it was real, couldn't you see Donald like calling the security guy at Mar-a-Lago like, do not let Elon in the premises? And then when they make up in like 3 months, say, Elon can come back again as Donald. You can put Elon back on the good list.
1 week.
1 week.
Just so everybody knows, my reference to big balls, that's the kid who worked at Doge. In case somebody didn't get that reference.
I didn't get it. I didn't think we were going down that rabbit hole either this morning.
That's one of the kids that worked at Doge. His screen name was Big Balls. So who's getting the kids in the divorce? That's what I was referring to.
That was his screen name?
Yes.
And this is some guy who had sensitive government information.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Good to know.
Elon's going to keep.
I wish you hadn't told me that. I'd rather have not known, to be honest. Miles says Elon's keeping big balls.
I was saying something else.
Miles said Elon's keeping.
Yeah,
big
Elon's
balls.
not letting that go.
Yeah.
All right, guys. I mean, I think it's more calculated than we on face value. Everything with him is. So why would this be any different?
Yeah. I'll end the show where I started. Maybe. We'll see where it goes. Thank you all for listening. Hopefully, the president of the United States and the richest man in the world can kiss and make up, and we don't have to see all this public spat anymore. But it is
just pick up the phone and reach out and touch someone and call him and work it out. Don't do it on social media.
Yeah, I was trying to end, but I'm going to have to end it with one screed before we go. Doesn't it speak even further, if it is on face value, to this? I hate a keyboard warrior. Like, pick up the phone, talk to somebody in person. Anywho, we see it a lot in the professional law, and it's a big trigger for me because I'm like, it's a lot harder to be a dick to somebody to their face or on the phone when you're talking to them.
And somebody take Trump's phone away from him, please.
Good luck with that. This has been another exciting episode of the Overruled podcast, brought to you by the Scott Vignair Law Firm and President Donald Trump and Elon Musk. Brad, I've enjoyed chatting with you and Miles. Miles, thank you for the Gen Z take. Until next time, thank you all for listening, and we'll see you soon.
Y'all take care.
Scott Vignair, injury attorneys, we fight for the win.
Information is for illustrative purposes only and does not constitute tax, investment, or legal advice. Always consult with a qualified investment, legal, or tax professional before taking any action.